I am Candace Watson, 27 years old. I was progressing smoothly in my career as the youngest marketing director ever at Tyler and Associates. As I was returning to my office on the 7th floor, I paused to look out the window at the bustling New York cityscape below. Under a sky heavy with clouds, rows of skyscrapers stood imposingly, and people moved hurriedly on the streets resembling a swarm of ants. I took a deep breath and allowed myself a moment to relish in my professional achievements. However, there was always a sense of something missing in the back of my mind. It was an issue with my family. From a young age, I was raised to meet my family's expectations. I was born as the eldest daughter of the Watson family. We were a family of 4, including my younger sister Brittany, who is 3 years younger, and our parents. Both of our parents, Diane and Richard, were dedicated to their jobs and often absent. They each had different personalities. My mother, Diane, was assertive and decisive, always managing household matters. In contrast, my father, Richard, was quiet and mild-mannered, seldom intervening in family decisions. He often followed my mother's decisions. As a result, my mother set the rules at home, and it became natural for me to follow them. Replacing my busy parents, I was expected to take care of Brittany as the big sister. It started with simple tasks. When we came home from school, I prepared snacks and helped Brittany with her homework. As I grew older, my duties increasingly accumulated. By late elementary school, I was responsible for cooking dinner 3 times a week, supervising Brittany's homework, and cleaning on Saturday mornings. While my peers went out on weekends, I was swamped with household chores. Once, I was set to present at a school science fair. I asked my father to help on the weekend. "Dad, can you help me with my project on Saturday?" He smiled and nodded. "Of course." However, on Saturday morning, my mother told him, "Richard, today is Brittany's ballet practice day. You need to take her." But Dad promised to help with my project. I protested. "Sorry, Candace," my father said apologetically. "I'll definitely help next time." My mother added, "Candace, you're smart enough to do it alone. Brittany is still young and needs Dad's help." Thus, I always learned to put my wishes and needs last. My father never protected me, he always followed my mother's decisions. One spring day when I was 16 years old, I had planned to go to the mall with friends. It was a rare moment for myself. However, on the morning of the outing, my mother had urgent business and asked me to help prepare for Brittany's 13th birthday party. "Candace, please." "It's for Brittany," my mother said. "You can always go out another time." I reluctantly agreed. Brittany's party was a great success, and our parents were pleased. However, I never went out with my friends after that. After the cancellation that day, it became known that Candace is too busy. These experiences made it difficult for me to say no to my family's demands. My family's needs always took priority over my own wishes and plans. When I entered university, I finally gained some freedom. I moved away from my parents' home and began living my own life. However, the bond with my family was strong, and I kept in touch regularly through calls and messages. Even after starting my job, I was expected to take vacations for weekly visits home and family birthdays and events. Even now, I still feel a strong sense of duty to meet my family's demands. After finishing a meeting and returning to my office, my smartphone rang. The screen read, "Mom." Hesitating for a moment, I answered the call. "Candace, how are you?" "Yes, Mom. I just got back from a meeting." "What's up?" "Actually, I have a small favor to ask," my mother said. "Next month, I'm going with Brittany to train for volunteer nursing. It's from March 15th for about 10 days. I replied while sitting at my desk. "Oh, that's wonderful. Where?" I think it's in Miami," she stumbled in her response. I felt a slight discomfort. My mother usually planned everything down to the last detail. It was unlike her to be vague about a location. It would have been nice for you to join, but you're always busy. Besides, I actually have another favor to ask. My heart skipped a beat. I was well acquainted with this tone of favor. Could you take care of Rocky and Daisy? Dad is on a business trip, and we need someone to look after them while we are away. Rocky and Daisy are the family's miniature dachshund. I have always loved dogs, but pets are not allowed in my apartment. I gradually built a bond with the two during weekend visits home. Rocky and Daisy came to the family after I had moved on to college. Since childhood, I had wanted a dog, but that wish was never fulfilled while I was living at home. However, when Brittany suddenly expressed a desire to have dogs, my mother brought them home. Mom, I have a schedule. I have a presentation in Chicago just before that. This business trip was crucial for me. It was a presentation of our annual marketing strategy to our largest client, and if successful, it would be a significant step forward in my career. My mother quickly countered. But you'll be coming back, right? It's only for a few days. The dogs love you. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. It was the usual pattern. My family always expected me to say yes. Mom, I'm sorry. I can't help this time. But, Candace, I'm not a pet sitter. My voice grew a bit stronger. I have my own life. The ensuing silence spoke volumes of my mother's shock. All right then, she eventually said. I'll look into a pet hotel. As the responsible eldest daughter in the family, I had always been relied upon. However, lately, I have begun to feel tired of this role. Normally, I might have accepted even my mother's unreasonable demands. But this time, particularly due to the demanding project, I planned to take a vacation and rest alone after returning from Chicago. At the same time, the conversation with my mother felt strangely off. There was something unsettling about it. A few days later, at a coffee shop, I ran into Brittany's close friend Lindsay. She called out from behind me as I was ordering coffee, Candace. Lindsay, it's been a while. How are you? I greeted her cheerfully. Yes, very well. You seem as busy as ever, she said with a smile. Right. Brittany and I were shopping all last week. For her trip to Japan. Trip to Japan? I asked, surprised. Yes, next month, right? I think it starts on March 15th. Are you going to? Lindsay inquired. Brittany is really excited. She'll be visiting Kyoto and Tokyo. I'm so jealous. I smiled, hiding my confusion. Oh, that's right. I'm still considering it. While continuing the conversation, my mind was in turmoil. My mother and Brittany had planned a trip to Japan but hadn't told me anything. Instead, they lied about volunteer training to get me to take care of the dogs. After parting with Lindsay, I decided to email Vanessa, a friend of my mother's and a leader of the volunteer organization. If my mother was participating in training, Vanessa would know about it. Hello, Vanessa. This is Candace. I heard my mother is participating in volunteer training. Could you give me more details? A few hours later, Vanessa replied. Candace, which training is your mother talking about? Our organization doesn't have any events planned for next month. This response confirmed my suspicions. My mother and Brittany had lied. It wasn't volunteer training, it was a trip to Japan. And I hadn't been invited. Why did they lie? I murmured quietly. A mix of anger and sadness surged within me. A few days after discovering the Japan trip, I called my mother. Mom, I talked to Lindsay and Vanessa, I said quietly. You're going to Japan, aren't you? There's no volunteer training. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. Candace. She hesitated. We didn't mean to trouble you. You always seem so busy, we thought you'd say no if we invited you. Then you should have been honest from the start, I said. Why did you lie? We wanted you to take care of the dogs, she admitted. I took a deep breath. Mom, I have my own plans. I'm not going to sacrifice my work and plans for your trip. She sighed. I understand. After you turned us down, I thought about it. We've decided to put Rocky and Daisy in a pet hotel. After a moment of silence, my mother seemed to have an idea. So, we're putting Rocky and Daisy in a pet hotel, and how about we all go on a trip together? You said you wanted to visit Japan, right? I was surprised for a moment, but then quickly responded. That's a great idea. Let's do that. She replied with a voice of relief. I'll send you the travel details right away. I was satisfied with this solution. I thought it was worth taking a vacation for this family trip. At the same time, I was busy preparing for a presentation in Chicago. But in between, I was also preparing for the trip to Japan. I bought guidebooks and started learning basic Japanese phrases. It was one of the countries I had long admired, and I was very excited. I also hoped that spending time with my family might improve our relationship. The presentation in Chicago was a resounding success. The client was satisfied with my proposal and even approved an additional budget. My boss praised me, saying, "Great job," and I prepared for the trip in high spirits. Then came the morning of March 15th. I arrived at JFK International Airport. A few days earlier, I had returned to New York from a flight from Chicago, but I was not feeling tired. I was looking forward to this trip. As I entered the airport entrance that morning, my mother and Brittany had already arrived. They were sitting on a bench with large suitcases beside them. I approached them. "Good morning," I said brightly. My mother and Brittany showed complex expressions but quickly changed to smiles. I felt a moment of discomfort at their expressions, but I did not dwell on it. "Candace. It's been a while," Brittany stood up and hugged me. "I'm looking forward to the trip." I smiled. "By the way, where's Dad?" My mother's expression clouded slightly. "About that." She stood up and took 2 small carry cases from a large bag on the bench. Inside each was Rocky and Daisy, looking anxious and quietly sitting in their cases. "What are you doing?" I asked incredulously. "Candace, understand," my mother said in a low voice. "We searched all the pet hotels, but they were fully booked. Your dad is on a business trip, and it's impossible for us to take the dogs with us. Someone has to take care of them." "Dad is on a business trip? So the plan wasn't for all of us to go?" My voice grew colder. "So, the plan was for the 2 of you to go to Japan while Dad is away, and I stay home to watch the dogs." "I thought you'd understand," my mother became defensive. "I told you I refused to take care of the dogs. I'm not a pet sitter," I said. "But..." Brittany started to speak, but I interrupted her. "No, this is unacceptable," I said firmly. "You're trying to manipulate me. You're counting on me saying yes, as usual." "Candace, calm down," my mother said, looking around. "Don't create a scene here. It's not good to get emotional." "Not get emotional?" My voice rose a bit. "You're telling me not to get emotional when you've lied to me and are trying to force 2 dogs on me without my consent?" I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. My mother, Brittany, and the animal carry cases. "What are you doing?" my mother asked, confused. "I'm gathering evidence," I said calmly. "I'm going to report this to the animal control authorities." My mother's face was drained of all colors. "What? You're trying to abandon the dogs, I explained. And I won't allow that. Candace, please, my mother said, her face on the verge of tears. We were just trying to use me, I finished her sentence. I've had enough. I started to make a phone call. Hello, is this the animal control? I'd like to report some pets being abandoned. My mother froze in terror. Brittany began to cry. Candace, stop. At that moment, a man hurried towards us through the crowd. It was Dad. What's going on here? He asked, confused. I was surprised and hung up the phone. Dad, weren't you supposed to be on a business trip? Yes, that was the plan, he answered. But I managed to finish my work early. I wanted to surprise you all by not telling you. But why are you all at the airport? He looked around slowly. He saw the dogs in the carry cases and said, Diane, what's happening? Then the truth came out. Dad didn't know about the trip to Japan. The plan had been for the two of them to leave while he was supposedly on a business trip. Mom and Brittany had never intended to take me on the trip, they were trying to trick me into taking care of the dogs. In fact, the pet hotel wasn't full, they were denied because Rocky was old and might feel stressed in a new environment. What was more shocking was the fact that Dad was completely unaware of the plan. Diane. His voice was filled with disappointment. What are you doing? She started to make an excuse, but an airport announcement interrupted her. Boarding call for Japan Airlines Flight 3. Forget it, go, Dad told them. I'll take the dogs home. But Mom tried to argue. There's no time to discuss this now, Dad said firmly. We'll talk about this later. I looked at him. His eyes mixed with anger and disappointment. He must have felt betrayed just like me. Go, I told my mother and Brittany. Enjoy yourselves. But understand that this changes our relationship. They seemed lost for words. Ultimately, they silently walked towards the check-in line. In those few minutes, I felt like I had expressed my true feelings towards my family for the first time. I had always tried to meet my family's expectations. But that day, I had clearly defined my boundaries. Dad approached me. I'm sorry, Candace. I didn't know. I know, Dad, I said quietly. You were deceived by them too. The sadness and confusion in my father's face stirred my heart. My dad, who had always followed family decisions, seemed to take a stand for the first time today. He picked up the dog's carry cases. Let's go home. We need to talk. I shook my head. I'm not going home. What do you mean? The words not going home had slipped out impulsively. At that moment, something became clear in my mind. I had always lived to meet others' expectations. Although I was successful at work, it was not for myself but to be recognized. Within the family, as the responsible big sister, I had always prioritized my family's needs over my own desires. But now, amid the bustle of the airport, I was listening to my own voice. A long-suppressed desire suddenly became clear. I needed to use this moment for myself. I've always changed my plans for the sake of the family, I explained. This time is different. I'm taking my own vacation. Where do you plan to go? My father asked, concern evident in his voice. I paused for a moment, the destination of my childhood dreams coming to mind. The blue seas, white sandy beaches, and breathtaking sunsets I had seen in magazines. Hawaii. Yes, Hawaii. I smiled. I've always wanted to go there. The moment I voiced it, I felt completely certain about my decision. Hawaii wasn't just an escape, it was a place I had long dreamed of visiting. As a child, I learned about Hawaii in geography class, captivated by its beautiful landscapes and culture. However, family trips were always tailored to Brittany's preferences, and my wishes were postponed. But not this time. This time, it was my turn to choose. He seemed momentarily puzzled, but he quickly understood. I see. Go for it. You deserve a vacation. He pulled out a card from his wallet. Use this, he said, handing me a credit card. Upgrade to first class using my points. You deserve special treatment. Tears welled up in my eyes. Thank you, Dad. No, I should be the one thanking you, he said earnestly. We have not adequately expressed our gratitude for everything you have done for the family, and we have taken you for granted. I'm truly sorry. I hugged my father. It's okay, Dad. You didn't know. Don't worry about the dogs, he assured me. Go and enjoy your time. I nodded and started walking towards another terminal. The Hawaiian sun was warm, gently illuminating my skin. Lying on the sandy Waikiki beach, I breathed deeply, listening to the waves. This is what freedom feels like, I whispered to myself. Thanks to my father's points, I secured a first-class seat on a direct flight to Honolulu. Furthermore, I was staying in a fabulous suite in a 5-star hotel. This trip meant more than just a vacation, it was a turning point in my life. The confrontation with my family, especially the incident at the airport, had given me the courage to face long-standing issues. I pulled out a small notebook from my beach bag and began to write. Diary entry, March 17th. Today is my second day in Hawaii. An incredibly beautiful place. Yesterday, I hiked up Diamond Head and enjoyed the breathtaking views. Today, I spent time on the beach, and tomorrow I plan to join a snorkeling tour. Thinking about my family still brings complex emotions. I can't understand why my mother and Brittany would do such a thing to me. But this isn't a new issue. They have always relied on me too much. And I have been afraid to say no. I talked to Dad yesterday. The dogs are doing well. He said he had talked to Mom and Brittany as well. Both seem to feel sorry, but I have not yet responded to their messages. I need time. I put down my pen and looked up at the sky. Messages from my mother and sister had arrived right after they landed in Japan. Apologies, explanations, and pleas for my understanding were lined up. However, I wasn't ready to respond yet. During this vacation, I took time to reflect on my life and how I want to change it. And so, I started a blog titled Drawing Boundaries, A Journey of Self-Affirmation. I announced the blog on my social media account because I wanted to share my experiences and inspire others in similar situations. One evening, while watching a beautiful sunset from the hotel balcony, I called my father. Dad. Ah, Candace. How are you? Very well. It's really beautiful here. I saw your photos, he said. I'm following your blog. Really? I was surprised. I hadn't expected him to read my blog. Oh, your photos are professional quality. Especially the sunset photos. I smiled. Thank you, Dad. Photography has always been a hobby of mine. I didn't know that, he said with a touch of sadness. I should have known more about you. It's okay, Dad. It's never too late. He continued, somewhat hesitantly. I want to apologize. I should have protected you more. There were times when I should have objected to Diane's ways, but I remained silent. I was surprised yet felt warmth at his words. It was rare for my father to express his feelings so openly. The next day, an unexpected package arrived at my hotel. It was a high-end camera lens. The card attached had a message from Dad. Let your passion blossom. With love, Dad. I smiled as I held the lens. For the first time, I felt that someone in my family truly understood and supported my interests and passions. Apology messages from my mother and sister arrived daily. However, I decided to keep my distance. I understood that changing long-standing relationship patterns would take time. And for the first time, I felt free to make my own choices. After returning home, I started having regular dinners with my father. He listened to me and asked about my life and dreams. Apology messages from my mother and sister continued, but I maintained my distance. "How are Mom and Brittany?" I asked one day during a meal with him. They came back from Japan. "Diane has changed. She can't push things through as she used to." We held a family meeting to discuss our relationships moving forward. "And?" I prompted. "For the first time, I really spoke up," he said with a hint of pride. "I talked about how much she has been using you, how much Brittany has been spoiled, and how irresponsible I have been." I gasped. "Dad." "They were resistant at first, especially Diane," he continued. "But ultimately, they had to admit we were wrong. Diane is now reflecting on her actions. She wants to ask for your forgiveness." I looked out the window, unsure how to respond. "You don't have to respond to her messages," he quickly added. "You need time. We understand that. I might reconcile with them someday," I said. "But right now, I'm learning to live for myself." "That's okay," he said gently. "I'm here for you." Thus, I began to establish healthy boundaries within my family. My relationship with him deepened, and my relationship with my mother and sister changed. It would take more time to truly see if they had changed. But one thing was certain: I would never again sacrifice my life for others' expectations.